Well, the classified document scandal surrounding Joe Biden has taken a turn for the worse. Over the weekend, 6 more classified documents were discovered. Essentially, it's looking like Joe Biden had classified documents just scattered throughout his home, his think tank, and his garage. So let's go through the timeline. Here we've got Joe Biden on December 20th. I'm sorry, let's go back. The timeline is actually starting at November 2nd. So this goes back way before we even really found out about the classified documents. November 2nd, Joe Biden's personal attorneys found classified documents dating to his vice presidency, some of which were top secret, sensitive, compartmented information in a locked closet while packing files at the Penn Biden Center for Diplomacy and Global Engagement. So that was the first round of documents that were found. They did not disclose this until way later. This was before the midterm election. So they could have told us this, if it were Trump, absolutely they would have disclosed this right away, but they didn't. So that's when the first round of documents were found. The second round of documents were found on December 20th. The second batch of classified documents was discovered by Biden's attorneys in the garage of his home in Wilmington, Delaware. Then on January 11th, a one-page classified document was also found in a room adjacent to the garage, described as Biden's private library. But the thing about that discovery was that it was made by Biden's personal attorneys. They did not have classified clearance. So the minute they came across the document, they were like, we got to call somebody. So they ended up calling the DOJ, people that had actual clearance. And later then, on the next day, on January 12th, 5 more one-page classified documents were recovered from the library by White House attorney and DOJ representatives who had gone there to collect them. So the people with classified clearance went in after the first document was found, and the attorneys were like, we're not supposed to see this. Then the other guys came in who could see it, and they discovered several more documents just sitting in his library. Then, so that marks 4 times, okay? Everybody keeping count here. So the first time, November 2nd, the second time, December 20th, then January, actually, I think it might have even been the 9th or somewhere around there, 9th, 10th, or 11th, a document was found. Then later, the team went in on January 12th and found more documents. So that's 4 times. But then, now over the weekend, actually it happened on Friday, but they didn't tell us until the weekend because that's how they are. They don't want to tell you anything until you're not paying attention. So on January 20th, the FBI conducted. Now the FBI going into a sitting president's home. Imagine that. That's actually pretty astonishing that the FBI would do this. Previously, it was his attorneys, right? The attorneys were going through, finding things, going, oh no, we got to report this. Now the FBI is doing a search, a 13-hour search of Biden, a sitting president's entire Wilmington home, looking for classified documents. And then they tell us, so that was Friday, then they tell us on Saturday that they did end up recovering several classified documents. So we're at 5 times, and here's Biden being like, oh, there's no there. Biden saying, no big deal. Oh, I take documents really seriously. I take classified documents really seriously. Meanwhile, he's got them just scattered all over the place in his house where anybody can go. We don't even know who's all been there. We don't know. There's no visitor log. So we don't even know who's been in and out of the house, who's been in and out of the library, been in and out of the garage. We know Hunter Biden has been in all of those places, but we don't know who else has been to all of these different rooms in the house where various classified documents were scattered around. But they're still trying to play this down. You see all the time media, people, Biden supporters downplaying this like, so what? It's no big deal. It's only a few documents. This is kind of the latest narrative. With Trump, it was boxes and boxes of documents. But with Biden, it's just a few documents. So it's no big deal. Here's the thing. It could be one document. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. For one, it's classified. So we don't know what's in these documents. We're not privy to that information. So it doesn't matter if it's hundreds of documents or one document. The only thing that matters is what's in the documents. That's what we would want to know. But of course, they're never going to tell us. But if you keep one classified document, and that one classified document is incredibly damning or has tons of information, that very important information for your son to maybe take a glance at, that would be more dangerous and more damning than, let's say, having several boxes of personal memorabilia, of handwritten notes to Kim Jong-un that really don't say anything except, nice to see you. That would be a much more damning situation. So it doesn't matter the number of documents, but that's kind of how a lot of people are trying to play it. What matters is what's in the documents. That's what we'd want to know. So what's interesting now, however, is with this latest fifth round of documents that have been discovered, and they were like, well, we just found 6 documents, and on the 11th there was just 1 document, and then on the 12th it was just 5 documents, and on the 20th it was just a few documents, and on the 2nd it was just a few. It's like, this is how they're playing it. But what's interesting now is how liberal media is desperately, who really they had been desperately trying to protect their guy. They were spinning themselves into a frenzy, trying to downplay the significance of these discoveries. But now, with this latest discovery, they're publicly acknowledging this as a staggering drip style scandal and saying it could spell bad news for Biden. So take a look at this CNN article right here. FBI search deepens political implications of Biden document discovery. So they're saying this now, we're just kind of getting into this territory of this is really getting some implications. They say here in the article, the FBI search of President Joe Biden's home and discovery of more classified material deepened the seriousness of his secret documents controversy and worsened the political fallout. CNN is reporting this now. Biden's lawyers argued that Friday's search underscored his cooperation with the special counsel's investigation, implicitly distinguishing him from the behavior of ex-President Donald Trump in his own classified document scandal. So they're still trying to say, but Trump is worse. But Trump is worse. Again, we don't know what's in the documents. Biden's scandal might very well be way worse if there was just one document that contained something much more secret than any of the documents Trump had. It doesn't matter. The number, the volume, or even how you behave doesn't matter. But this is how they're trying to act. They're trying to say, well, but Biden's cooperating. So it doesn't matter if he committed a crime. It's not a crime now because he's cooperating. The crime is holding on to classified documents when you're not supposed to. It doesn't matter how you behave around that. You're not supposed to commit that crime. So, if you shoplift and you have an angry face while doing it, and you're really resistant, is that any different than if you shoplift with a smile? I don't know. That's kind of how they're acting, right? So they say, yet the reality of FBI officers searching the private residence of a sitting president remains an extraordinary one. Yes, it does. However, the White House seeks to downplay it. It provoked new questions over why Biden still had classified information from his time as vice president, how material typically treated with extreme care by federal employees ended up at his private residence, and whether it was secure from prying eyes in the years it was there. We don't know. We don't know if it was secure from private eye because we don't have a visitor log, so there's no way of knowing. And you know that, again, if this were Trump, they would be absolutely flipping out over it. Who was there? Who visited? Russians. Russians visited. Oh, my gosh. Right? So we need to know. There's a lot of information that we need to know. But honestly, there's really not a lot we need to know, quite honestly. If we were just really being honest, which the media never is, the only thing we need to know is that he had classified documents he wasn't supposed to have. And so he should be treated like any federal employee that had classified documents in their possession they're not supposed to have. That's it. Same with Trump. I mean, unless Trump can prove that he declassified the documents, unless Biden can prove that they declassified the documents, the bottom line is they should not be treated any differently than any other American who should not have classified documents in their possession and yet does. How is that American treated? Why are these presidents treated like monarchs that just get a free pass from committing crimes that anybody else would have to go to jail for? These are the things we should be demanding. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, if you're a big Trump supporter or a Biden supporter. You should be demanding that they face the same exact criminal implications of anybody else who were to have found these documents, who would have been found with the documents. So, but we are seeing at least a shift in the political tone. It doesn't look like they're going to now go after Trump for the classified documents. How can they at this point? How can they go after Trump and not go after Biden? Right? They can't have that sort of inflammatory double standard. That would absolutely cause riots in America. I mean, that would be the end of the line for so many people. It would be so obvious that the system is so corrupt if they just charged Trump with, now they're trying to talk about charging him not with having the classified documents. They can't do that anymore. That's what they wanted to go after, because if you're found for having classified documents, that statute reads that you have to forfeit any office and you cannot run for any future office. Of course, that probably wouldn't hold up in the court of law because it's against the Constitution, but it's still there and they would still attempt it. But when it comes to, so they're not going to do that. They're just not going to go after either of them for actually holding on to classified documents. That means they'd have to go after their man, Joe Biden. They don't want to do that. So instead, what they're talking about is they're going to go after Trump for obstruction of justice because he wasn't as compliant with the departments as Biden supposedly has been. But again, how compliant has Joe Biden been if they're just discovering documents everywhere? If he was so compliant, why wouldn't he have turned in all of them November 2nd? Why are we still now getting this trickling in of scattered documents? And here we are at the end of January. How compliant has he really truly been? They're spinning that again, making it sound like he's compliant and the other guy wasn't. It's not as bad because he doesn't have as many documents. Again, these are things, they're just trying to gaslight us, the media spin on this. I do want to show you this MSNBC spin because we are seeing a change in tone, right, with CNN. Now CNN saying, well, this search deepens the political implications of the Biden document scandal. But if you remember when this was first being reported, do we have this one, the MSNBC? Biden isn't on the same legal planet as Trump when it comes to classified docs. So this is how they were spinning it. Don't be fooled by GOP talking points that Biden is guilty of Trump-level deception. There's no case against Biden based on what we know so far. Really? So that was then, this is now. They're now saying, well, okay, it deepens the political implications, right? So the rumors are now swirling that the Democratic Party might be trying to throw Biden under the bus in order to prevent a disastrous 2024 presidential run. So that is the current rumor, that this was all a plan. They, of course, have to pretend like they're protecting their guy. They pretend they're spinning it. You know, Biden's not as bad as Trump. Oh, come on, guys. But really, the end game is they don't want Biden running again in 2024, and they don't want Trump running either. And so this is their way, their crafty little way to get rid of both candidates, undermining American democracy, the democracy they claim they're protecting so much, yet they do everything they can to disqualify candidates. And look, I'm not going to vote for Joe Biden if he runs again for president, but he absolutely should be allowed to run for president. And by the way, a bunch of other Democrats should be allowed to primary him, which, do you think that's going to be allowed by the Democratic Party if they do happen to keep Joe Biden? Will we see any debates? Will we see actual campaigns that are fair running up against a sitting president? Probably not, because they squash democracy as much as they say they're trying to protect it. So look, I don't think I'm not going to be a supporter of Joe Biden or vote for Joe Biden, but I certainly believe he should have the right to run and that they shouldn't be undercutting his ability by using a classified document scandal, the same classified document scandal that they're trying to use against Donald Trump. If they're trying to force both men out of the political race through this stunt, that would be absolutely undermining democracy, and we should not stand for that. So that is the latest of what is going on with this classified document scandal. You know, this has just left us wondering how many more layers to the scandal are there. I mean, we're now 2 months in from the original, or a month and a half in, and we're just finding more and more and more. So will there be more after this? If I were willing to bet, I would say probably. You know, if they search some of his other residences, maybe some other garages, maybe he's just got a, off-the-grid storage unit. I don't know. Search it. Search everything at this point. The guy just has these documents scattered all over the place. So that is what we need to see. We will continue following this, but we will also be following whether or not the Democrats do use this as a way to get Joe Biden to step aside. And that very well could be the thing. We just saw his chief of staff step aside potentially for this classified document scandal. Well, you know what? The person who's really truly responsible is not his chief of staff, not his attorneys, not his staffers. It's him. He's ultimately the one responsible. And they know that. And Joe Biden knows that. And so it very well might be a ploy to just move him along. Just move him along. But then what will happen? That is when things will get really interesting. And we'll look forward to that, I suppose, here in the future, of who would be the obvious replacement or not so obvious replacement, I would think, for Joe Biden in the Democratic Party as their front runner. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate you being here. Be sure to join my locals community every Tuesdays and Thursdays. I do a live community-only show for locals, so you will want to join that community and get that show. It's also how you can support this independent journalism here, the Kim Iverson Show. We very much rely on our locals community and your support, so thank you so much for that. Head over there, and I'll see you there tomorrow for an after show, but otherwise I will see you here again, same time, same place. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.